My name is Chloe, and I'm 32. 6 months ago, I received a text from my mother that changed everything. Please don't come to dinner tonight. Your brother's new girlfriend, Sophie, is uncomfortable around you. It wasn't just a cancelled invitation. It was the first step in their plan to completely erase me from the family. In the months that followed, I watched as a stranger took my place at the table, in their plans, and, it seemed, in their hearts. My birthday was postponed indefinitely so as not to upset her. My name began to disappear from conversations about the future. I was even hinted that my place in the will was no longer guaranteed. But in their rush to embrace their new, perfect daughter, they forgot something. They forgot about a document they themselves had signed 3 years ago. They thought it was a simple formality. They had no idea that they had actually handed me all the leverage. And I was just about to use it. And so, last week, at my promotion party in front of 35 guests, I finally told them what was in that document. If you're curious to know how it all ended, subscribe and write what city you're from. For now, I'll tell you how it all began. It was an ordinary Tuesday in April. I was standing in my kitchen, lovingly decorating a white chocolate and raspberry cheesecake I had spent half the day making. It was my mother's favorite dessert, and I was planning to bring it to our weekly family dinner. That's when the text arrived. From her. Chloe, dear, please don't come over tonight. Sophie feels like you're judging her, and we'd really like to avoid any tension. We'll see you another time, okay? I reread the message 3 times, certain I had misunderstood. Sophie. My brother Liam's girlfriend, whom he had only been dating for a couple of months. A woman I had met exactly twice in my life. The first time was at a family brunch. She showed up in a dress that cost more than my monthly salary and spent the entire evening talking about her plans to become a famous blogger. I was perfectly polite, I asked questions, smiled, and even followed her on Instagram, which had 2,000 followers. The second time we met was at my mother's birthday party. She spent the whole evening attached to my parents, calling my father, dad, and my mother an inspiring woman. I immediately dialed her number, not giving myself a second to think. Mom, what does this mean? Why is Sophie uncomfortable? What did I do wrong? Her response was evasive and full of sighs. Well, dear, she feels that you look at her in a certain way, and your stories about work make her feel out of place. Stories about work? She asked me what I do. Just be a little more modest, that's all. Not everyone had the same starting conditions. Starting conditions? I wanted to scream. What conditions? While Liam was changing majors at the university my parents paid for, I was juggling my studies and 2 jobs. While he was living at home at 27 with everything provided for him, I had been supporting myself since I was 21. Mom, it's a family dinner. I am your family. Sophie will be soon, too, Chloe. Liam is very serious about her. Serious intentions? They had only known each other for 2 months. And now, because of this girl's whim, I was being kicked out of the house I grew up in. I looked at the cheesecake on the counter. Its berry decoration suddenly seemed ridiculous. Outside, the lights of Austin were coming on. Somewhere out there, my family was sitting down to dinner without me, and I was not part of their evening. Okay, I said into the phone, my voice sounding much more confident than I felt. I hope you enjoy it. After hanging up, I didn't yet know that this was only the beginning. I had no idea that Sophie is uncomfortable would become the universal excuse for not inviting me to Easter, the 4th of July barbecue, or even my own birthday celebration. But there was something more to it than just the whims of my brother's girlfriend. To understand why Sophie gained power so easily, you need to know my family. My father is one of the most respected surgeons in the city. My mother is the head nurse at his clinic. From childhood, they saw me as their successor, our future doctor. But I was never interested in medicine. I dreamed of building houses, creating living spaces, not sterile operating rooms where life could end. My choice to study architecture instead of medicine was received as a real tragedy in the family. Such a brilliant mind, wasted on pictures, my father would sigh, even when I graduated with honors. At the same time, any of Liam's mistakes always had an explanation. He dropped out of medical school. He's finding himself. He failed his business school exams. He's too creative. He came back home at 26 with no plans. He just needs to reboot. While he was rebooting, I was carving my own path. I worked for free to gain experience. I endured condescension in a male-dominated industry. I spent 70 hours a week at work, but no one in my family ever once asked how I was doing. By 31, I had become the lead designer at my firm. When I told my parents, they replied, "That's nice, sweetie. By the way, Liam seems to have found some interesting marketing courses." Which, of course, he never signed up for. I love my brother, but this double standard was exhausting. My real achievements earned a mere nod, while his imaginary prospects were celebrated. When I bought my first apartment with my own hard-earned money, my parents gave Liam a new Lexus, to give him an incentive. So when Sophie, who from the first meeting began to admire their perfect family, appeared in their lives, they were captivated. Sophie entered our lives like a tornado. Liam, surprisingly, had actually gone to some business event where he met her. A week later, she was sitting at our family table, looking admiringly at my father and helping my mother with dessert. "She's exactly who we always dreamed of for Liam," my mother told me after that dinner. "So domestic, family-oriented. Not like some people who put their careers first." The hint was more than obvious. Sophie knew exactly how to manage them. She called my father the dad she never had. 3 weeks after they met, she was already posting photos with my mother on Instagram with the hashtags #bestfamily and #grateful. She even introduced a new tradition, bringing my mother fresh flowers every Saturday. The same Saturdays I was now, accidentally, forgotten to be invited to. Her methods were perfected. She never criticized me directly. Instead, she might say something like, "Chloe is so lucky to be so self-sufficient. I, for one, couldn't live so far from family." Or my personal favorite, "It must be so great to only have to think about projects and not complex human relationships." And my parents believed her every word. A month later, Sophie had her own key to their house. 2 months later, she was helping my mother update the interior, discreetly removing my childhood photos from the walls and replacing them with pictures of herself with Liam. "She needs to feel at home here," my mother explained when I asked where the pictures went. I started keeping a mental tally of her suspicious actions. How quickly she became involved in my parents' financial affairs. Her sudden interest in their real estate investments. The way she managed to steer every conversation toward the topic of inheritance. But I knew that any word from me against her would be met with hostility. I would instantly become the evil, jealous sister. The exclusion from the family happened gradually. At first, it was small things. "Oh, Chloe, we moved dinner to 4 o'clock, but you're probably busy anyway." Then it became bigger. "This year we're celebrating Easter with just a very small circle. Just us, Liam, and Sophie." In the last 6 months, I was not invited to Easter dinner, Mother's Day brunch, 3 family lunches, the 4th of July barbecue, my mother's birthday celebration, and a family trip for Labor Day. The excuses eventually disappeared. They just stopped inviting me. The last straw was my birthday. My mother had promised me a quiet dinner at our favorite restaurant, just for the family. In the morning, a text arrived. Sophie planned a surprise for Liam. "Let's postpone." "My birthday." "Let's postpone." I spent that evening with friends, but the bitter feeling remained. When I posted photos from our celebration, Sophie left a comment, "So glad you found your people." The message was crystal clear: your people are no longer us. It was then that I noticed something else, something truly disturbing. Every time I shared any success on social media, within 24 hours, a new scandal involving me would erupt in my family. I noticed a pattern. As soon as I shared news of a promotion on social media, Liam would suddenly have another crisis that required immediate family intervention. It wasn't a coincidence. Sophie was tracking my successes and deliberately creating drama to overshadow any joy I had. She wanted me to stay in the shadows. The financial manipulations began subtly. First, my parents helped Liam and Sophie with a down payment on an apartment, $25,000. Then Sophie's car broke down, and my father, without a second thought, bought her a new Audi for $50,000. I remembered how in college, I was $2,000 short for a professional program, and I was told, figure it out yourself, it builds character. But the final straw was the conversation about the will. We've decided to update it a bit to reflect the current situation, my mother said, as if casually. The current situation? I asked, a cold feeling creeping inside me. Well, Sophie will be part of the family soon. We want to make sure she's taken care of. Mom, they're not even married. Chloe, don't be selfish, she snapped. Family isn't just about blood ties, my mother loved to repeat. Funnily enough, that rule never seemed to work in my favor. I began to notice how Sophie and Liam were getting deeper into my parents' finances. There were some joint accounts. Sophie suddenly had access to their personal financial advisor. And Liam, who had never been interested in money, now attended meetings with her where their real estate investments were discussed. During one of our rare one-on-one lunches, my mother let it slip. She said they were thinking of giving Liam their lake house, supposedly for tax reasons. The very house where I spent my entire childhood, where I drew my first architectural sketches on the old pier. What about equal distribution of the inheritance? I asked cautiously. My mother just waved it off. Well, you have a career, Chloe. Liam needs support. I wanted to scream. My career, which they had never valued, was now being used as an excuse to take everything from me. Everything I had achieved on my own was now being used against me, while Liam and Sophie got everything handed to them. 3 years ago, we all sat together in our family lawyer's office, Mr. Peterson's, signing inheritance papers. They clearly stated equal distribution between the children. Had they forgotten about that? Or had Sophie already managed to worm her way into their trust so much that they were willing to go back on their own promises? I decided I urgently needed to find my copy of that agreement. My fears were confirmed that same evening. My father sent a text, family meeting tomorrow to discuss some financial matters. You don't need to come, we know how busy you are with work. I wasn't just uninvited. I was politely asked not to come. And while they were slowly but surely erasing me from their lives, my career was soaring. 3 months after Sophie's arrival, I was promoted to lead designer. 4 months later, I was heading the biggest project of my career, the redesign of a new cultural center in Austin. The position of design director was practically in my hands. Chloe, you are the future of this firm, my boss, Mr. Davis, told me. We'll announce your promotion at the official reception. It's customary to have family at such events. That's when Sophie began to invade my professional life as well. First, she found my company on LinkedIn and followed all my colleagues. Then she started leaving comments under our projects, so interesting. Liam's family is so talented. Not my family, but Liam's family. But I was truly shocked when my colleague Sarah told me one day, listen, your brother's girlfriend wrote to me. She was asking about possible collaborations for her blog. Sophie had 2,000 followers and no connection to architecture. But she was already trying to use my name and my reputation to promote herself. But then she crossed the final line. 2 weeks before the announcement of my promotion, Sophie wrote to my boss, Mr. Davis. In the email, feigning concern, she expressed fears about my work-life balance. Mr. Davis, thankfully, was a decent man and immediately forwarded the email to me. That's my brother's girlfriend, she's trying to sabotage my career, I replied honestly. Consider this email unread, he wrote back. And, Chloe, maybe you shouldn't invite her to the party. But I did the opposite. I invited all of them, my parents, Liam, and of course, Sophie. Because this party was meant to be more than just a celebration. It was meant to be the finale. I booked the most elegant venue in Austin, the Starlight Terrace, and sent out invitations to 31 guests from my professional circle. And 4 from my personal one. In the invitation from my parents, I wrote, "Your presence would mean a lot to me." They replied, "Yes," adding, "Sophie will be with us." We hope that won't be a problem. No problem at all, I thought. Everything is going according to plan. The party for my promotion was going to change everything. They just didn't know it yet. On the day of the party, I stood in my office, looking at the empty nameplate on the door. Soon it would read, Design Director. The youngest director in the firm's history. I should have felt triumphant, but instead, I just felt a familiar, dull ache. Will my parents finally be proud of me? Big night, Chloe, Mr. Davis said, peeking into my office. The entire board of directors will be here. My family is coming too, I said as nonchalantly as possible. Wonderful. They must be bursting with pride. I just smiled in response. The Starlight Terrace looked flawless. Panoramic windows with a view of the Austin skyline, soft jazz music, waiters with champagne. I had planned every detail to create an atmosphere of understated elegance. My colleagues began to arrive first, my mentor Maria, James from the Cultural Center Project, the senior partners who approved my promotion. Every one of their congratulations was sincere. And then a text came from my mom, running late. Sophie had something urgent come up. They were 30 minutes late. I saw their reflection in the window as they entered. My father hadn't even changed after his tennis game. My mother was holding Sophie's arm as if she were the guest of honor. Liam trailed behind, glued to his phone. But all my attention was on Sophie. She was wearing an ivory-colored dress. Long, flowing, almost bridal. At my party. "Chloe, darling," my mother announced loudly. "Sorry we're late, Sophie wanted to look perfect for your little office party." Little office party. I forced a smile. "Welcome. Come, I'll introduce you." "Oh, we'll just stay here for a bit," Sophie said, scanning the room with a critical eye. "It's cute. Though I thought it would be on a bigger scale." This party was for 35 leading professionals in our industry, not a random crowd. "Sometimes the most important meetings aren't the largest," I replied. "The speeches will start in 10 minutes. "Speeches?" Liam looked up from his phone. "You're giving a speech at your own party?" "It's tradition when you get a major promotion," Mr. Davis, my boss, interjected, appearing beside us. "Chloe's achievement deserves to be celebrated." My family exchanged glances. I pretended not to notice. The contrast was stark. In one part of the room, my colleagues chatted animatedly and discussed projects. In another, at a separate table, sat my family, isolated and pointedly uninterested. "I could never work in an office," Sophie declared loudly enough for everyone to hear. "It's so stifling for a creative person." My mother immediately nodded in agreement and, catching a passing guest, explained, "Sophie is an influencer. A very successful one." I caught Sarah's eye. She knew, just as I did, that all of Sophie's success consisted of promoting weight loss tea on social media. "Chloe," Mr. Davis addressed me, "tell us about the Cultural Center project." "The board is thrilled." Before I could answer, Sophie laughed. "Thrilled? About a building? Let's not exaggerate." The room grew noticeably quieter. Mr. Davis, God bless him, simply ignored her and continued the conversation with me. I watched as Sophie took selfies against the backdrop of the room, creating her own narrative for the evening. Liam was glued to his phone. My father was checking his watch. A few minutes before the official part began, when my boss announced that toasts would soon be made, I felt the need to escape for a moment. In the empty silence of the ladies' room, I looked at my reflection. I saw a successful professional respected by her colleagues. But I had no idea who my parents saw. When I returned, I saw Sophie fussing near the podium, trying to set up her phone for a live stream. "Sophie, what are you doing?" I asked. "Streaming for my followers," she replied, not looking up. "Exclusive access to the lives of Austin's elite." My celebration. Her exclusive access. "I would appreciate it if you didn't do that," I said. Her reaction was predictable. She dramatically rolled her eyes. "Chloe, relax. It's just a phone." At my own party, I was being told to relax. Just then, Mr. Davis stepped up to the microphone. "And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the woman we're all here to celebrate tonight." As I walked up to the stage, I noticed a familiar face in the far corner of the room. It was Mr. Peterson, my parents' family lawyer. He was sitting alone, with a briefcase at his feet, looking like any other guest. My parents didn't even notice him. They had only seen him a couple of times in their lives when we signed the papers. "Who's that?" Sarah whispered, following my gaze. "An old family friend," I replied, without going into detail. I didn't tell her that after my parents started talking about the will, I had contacted Mr. Peterson. Not as their lawyer, but as someone who could clarify the contents of those old documents. And he was here tonight as my guest. "Strange choice of accessory for a party," Sarah noted, nodding towards his briefcase. "He's old-fashioned," I smiled. I knew that briefcase contained copies of the documents my parents seemed to have long forgotten. My thoughts were interrupted by Sophie's loud voice. "What a tiny stage," she declared. "When I launched my brand, everything was on a much bigger scale." I remembered her launch, a party for 10 people in her apartment that Liam had complained about for weeks afterward. "1 minute," Mr. Davis said as he passed me. I glanced at Liam. He subtly checked his phone. He was ready. Everything depended on what happened in the next few minutes. Mr. Davis tapped his glass, and a hush fell over the room. "Before I hand it over to Chloe, I want to say a few words. In the 15 years I've worked at this firm, I've rarely seen such a combination of talent and integrity. Chloe is the future of our architecture." The room applauded. I looked at my family's table. My father was typing something on his phone without looking up. Liam was staring at the ceiling. My mother clapped politely, looking into the distance. And Sophie was adjusting her phone to get the perfect shot. "Thank you, Mr. Davis," I began, approaching the microphone. "This promotion is much more than just a new title. It's the result of many years." "Could you speak up?" Sophie interrupted. "We can't hear anything in the back." She was sitting 3 meters away from me. "Of course," I continued, not letting on that her stunt had bothered me. "It's the result of many years of dedication to the idea that we should create spaces where people can be happy. Architecture isn't just about beautiful buildings. It's about understanding human needs and responding to them through design." I saw some of my colleagues nod in approval. My parents, meanwhile, were whispering animatedly with Sophie. "The Cultural Center project taught me that true success only comes through collaboration and honesty," I continued. At that moment, Sophie stood up from the table with a glass in her hand and headed toward the restroom, making sure to cross the entire room and walk directly in front of me. "Oh, excuse me," she said loudly. "Don't mind me." I watched as she slowly walked between the tables, taking the longest possible route. As I was saying, I didn't miss a beat. Honesty is important in everything we do. In our projects, in our relationships. Sophie reached the door but didn't go in. She just stood there, watching me with a faint, anticipatory smile. She was clearly up to something. I want to thank everyone who believed in me. I refused to give in to her provocation. My colleagues, my boss, Mr. Davis, who saw potential in me. Sophie started moving towards me. The wine in her glass sloshed dangerously. And my family, I finished, watching her approach out of the corner of my eye. Who taught me that success must be earned, not given as a gift, I finished. My mother even smiled, not understanding the hint. Sophie was now a meter away from me. And most importantly, I took a small, almost imperceptible step back. I've learned that true success is about staying true to your principles. Even when. And at that moment, as if in slow motion, Sophie theatrically stumbled. The glass of red wine flew exactly where I had been standing a second ago. The wine splashed onto the floor. Sophie, who had been expecting a collision, met empty air and, flailing awkwardly, barely kept her balance, dropping the glass. In the ensuing silence, the sound of shattering glass was deafening. "Oh my God," she gasped, trying to compose herself. "Chloe, why did you move?" "I almost fell because of you." All eyes were on us. I could see several people holding up their phones. "Are you hurt?" I asked calmly, not moving an inch to help her. "You did that on purpose," Sophie exclaimed, her voice rising. "I saw you set it up." Chloe was several feet away from you, Sarah, my colleague, noted calmly. "We all saw it." But Sophie was already playing to the crowd. "I was just walking by, and look, I'm hurt," she showed everyone a small scratch. "Sophie, stop," I said quietly. "Everyone saw what happened. You've been unfriendly to me from the very beginning." She started to cry. "You wanted me to feel unwelcome here." The irony was staggering. "Chloe, what have you done?" Liam interjected, putting his phone away. "She didn't do anything," Mr. Davis said firmly. "The young lady simply lost her balance." "You don't need to defend her." Liam walked over to Sophie. "My girlfriend is upset because Chloe doesn't like it when the attention isn't on her." "Liam, there are 35 people here, and everyone saw what happened," I said. "They saw your hostility." Then my mother came over. "Chloe, this is your night." "Why the scenes?" "I'm making a scene." I was astonished. "I was just giving my speech." "You were drawing too much attention to yourself," my father said. "As always." "And when Sophie happened to be nearby, you put her in an awkward position." A deafening silence fell over the room. All my colleagues, partners, and mentors watched this family drama unfold, holding their breath. They saw my family unanimously defend a woman who had just tried to ruin my celebration in front of their very eyes. "She has a scratch," my mother fretted, dabbing a napkin on Sophie's arm. "We need to leave immediately, this stress is unbearable for her." But Sophie, lifting her chin, stopped her. "No. I'm not leaving until she apologizes. In front of everyone." This was it, the final act. To humiliate me in front of my entire professional world. "Chloe, apologize," my father commanded in an icy tone. I saw Mr. Davis tense up. In the far corner of the room, Mr. Peterson slowly stood up, his eyes fixed on our group. "Apologize?" I repeated, looking directly at my father. "May I ask for what, exactly?" "For upsetting my girlfriend." Liam chimed in. "For being jealous and angry that." "Liam," Mr. Davis's voice was quiet but firm. "You are addressing the new director of design. I would ask you to choose your words carefully." "Choose my words?" Liam scoffed. "She doesn't deserve it." "Unlike those who have found their place in life," my colleague Sarah asked quietly, but loud enough for everyone to hear. A few people at nearby tables couldn't hide their smiles. "Chloe has always been difficult," my mother began, addressing the whole room as if sharing a painful experience. "We always tried to support her, but she chose her career over family. We wanted her to be a part of our lives, but she makes everything so complicated." "Support?" The word escaped my lips before I could stop it. "In the last 6 months, you haven't invited me to 6 family gatherings," I continued. "Because Sophie feels uncomfortable around you," my mother snapped back. She feels like you're judging her. I've spoken to her maybe twice in my entire life, I retorted. You see. Sophie immediately started wailing, clutching her scratched arm to her chest. She's keeping score. She's watching me. I'm scared. This is ridiculous, someone muttered at a nearby table. I think it was Mr. Davis. My father stepped forward, his face flushed. Chloe Ann, he said, using my full name, either you apologize to Sophie immediately, or you can no longer consider yourself part of this family. His ultimatum hung in the air. She's just jealous, Sophie added, sensing victory was near. Of me and Liam, of our happiness. Some people just can't stand to see others do well. Her ability to project her own qualities onto others was almost admirable. Apologize, my mother repeated. Make the right choice. For once in your life. I scanned the room, my colleagues, who knew what this promotion cost me. My parents, who had chosen a stranger over me. Sophie, smirking through fake tears. And Liam, her loyal defender, and Mr. Peterson, who had moved a little closer, his briefcase at the ready. So you want me to apologize? I said slowly. Well, let's talk about who really owes an apology here tonight, and for what. There's nothing to discuss, my father cut in, with the voice of a surgeon who brooks no argument. You've embarrassed us enough. Apologize to Sophie, and we'll just forget this unpleasant incident. An unpleasant incident, I repeated. Interesting. Is that what we're calling a deliberate provocation now? Provocation? Sophie shrieked. I was just going to get a napkin. Straight towards me, with a full glass of wine in your hand, I added. You're paranoid, Liam spat. Just like with her comments on social media. She comments on my every post within an hour. Because she's trying to support you, my mother exclaimed. But with your selfishness, you'll never understand that. Their ability to create their own version of events on the fly was astounding. 35 people had seen one thing, and they were describing something completely different. I just want her to say she's sorry, Sophie insisted. For my peace of mind. Your peace of mind, I repeated in a level voice. Yes. When someone treats you like that at a party, it's very upsetting. I took a deep breath, feeling the eyes of the entire room on me. My colleagues were waiting to see how I would react. My family was sure I would back down. You know what else is upsetting? I asked. Being slowly pushed out of your own family. When your hard work isn't valued. When you find out your future is about to be given away to someone you barely know. My mother gasped. Chloe, this is a family matter. Precisely, Mr. Peterson interjected, stepping forward. Which is why such matters are best discussed in a more private setting. I believe I can shed some light on the situation. My parents froze, only now noticing him. Mr. Peterson, shock registered on my father's face. What are you doing here? Good evening, Arthur, Helen, Mr. Peterson's voice was perfectly calm. I am here tonight as Chloe's guest. Our family lawyer is her guest? Panic laced my mother's voice. But that's a conflict of interest. Not at all, Mr. Peterson replied. I am here in a private capacity. Though, by sheer coincidence, I have some papers with me that might clarify the situation. Sophie immediately took a step back, suddenly losing all her fighting spirit. And who are you? She asked. Mr. Peterson, he said, extending a hand she didn't shake. I've been handling your boyfriend's family affairs for 15 years. I helped them draw up their asset distribution plan, Mr. Peterson continued. This is completely inappropriate, my father protested. Whatever Chloe has told you. Chloe hasn't told me anything that wasn't already recorded on paper, Mr. Peterson interrupted calmly. However, given the circumstances, I feel it is my duty to remind you of certain legal obligations you have undertaken. The room fell silent. We don't have to stay here, Liam said, grabbing Sophie's hand. Let's go. I would stay if I were you, Mr. Peterson said. Since your name is mentioned in these papers. Liam froze. What papers? So what? Sophie interjected, clearly unable to hold back. That was 100 years ago. Legal documents do not have an expiration date, Mr. Peterson replied coldly. These particular documents, he continued, include a clause titled the Equal Treatment Clause. Are you familiar with that term, Arthur? My father's face turned ashen. We signed a lot of things that day. Yes, you did, said Mr. Peterson. Your signatures are right here, Mr. Peterson said, slowly and deliberately pulling a leather-bound folder from his briefcase. His movements were precise and unhurried. This is a clause regarding the equitable treatment of heirs, which you both agreed to. Shall I quote the key passage for you? How absurd, my mother objected faintly. We're at a party. A party where, just minutes ago, you publicly threatened to disown your daughter, Sarah inserted coldly. A murmur of approval rippled through a few colleagues, confirming her words. Mr. Peterson cleared his throat, commanding everyone's attention. The document states the following: in the event that one of the heirs faces targeted alienation, prejudiced treatment, or an attempt at disinheritance on grounds other than a criminal offense or a proven case of abuse, said heir has the right to initiate a procedure for the immediate protection of their assets. This measure freezes their share and makes any redistribution that could be interpreted as discriminatory impossible. A ringing silence filled the room. Furthermore, the lawyer added, this clause implies record-keeping. Any confirmed incident of alienation lasting more than 6 months becomes grounds for an automatic investigation. But that's not what we meant at all. My father began to stammer, clearly flustered. Among other things, you also signed this addendum, Mr. Peterson concluded, presenting another document to the group. It is clearly stated here, Mr. Peterson continued, that all family events, whether holidays or regular gatherings, must include all heirs equally. The only exception is the existence of an official court order to the contrary. That's absurd. Liam couldn't hold back. You can't tell us who to invite into our own home. I cannot, the lawyer calmly confirmed. However, you cannot consistently ignore one heir for 6 months while providing significant financial assistance to another person who is not formally a member of the family, and then publicly threaten disinheritance. Such actions are precisely what activate the protective clause of the agreement. Sophie turned pale as a sheet. I don't want their money, she whispered. No one is suggesting you do, Mr. Peterson replied gently. Although a $25,000 down payment on an apartment and a new $50,000 Audi might paint a different picture. A wave of whispers swept through the room. My colleagues were witnessing a first-class performance. How do you know these details? My father asked sharply. All financial transactions are recorded, the lawyer explained. Especially ones of this size. It was Chloe who put you up to this, to trap us, my mother declared accusatorially. Chloe is merely acting within her rights, as stipulated in the document you yourself signed, Mr. Peterson countered. Her actions are a direct response to 6 months of documented alienation, to recorded statements about disinheritance, and to what appears to be an attempt to humiliate her at a party in her own honor. He gestured around the room full of people, and all this in the presence of numerous witnesses whose testimonies will also be meticulously recorded. Chloe, Mr. Peterson addressed me. Are you prepared to present your documentation? Despite my heart pounding in my chest, my hands were steady as I took out my phone. It contained a 6-month history of text messages, starting with the phrase, "Don't come to dinner tonight. It will be awkward for Sophie." I showed the screen to Mr. Peterson, and he nodded. March 15th, April 2nd, Easter. April 28th, Sunday lunch. May 12th, Mother's Day. Those were our private family matters, my mother tried to object. May 30th, Memorial Day barbecue, I continued, ignoring her. June 15th, discussion of Dad's anniversary, insiders only. My birthday, which was cancelled for a surprise party for Sophie. You were keeping a list? Liam sneered. That's just disgusting. In the professional world, that's called evidence, Mr. Davis noted quietly but firmly. And we use it all the time. That's not all, I added. There are screenshots of Sophie's social media posts from every family event I wasn't invited to. 32 posts with the hashtag #FamilyValues. And I'm not in a single one of them. That means absolutely nothing. Sophie shrieked. On the contrary, it proves a systematic pattern, Mr. Peterson concluded. Especially in light of today's events, confirmed by witnesses, Mr. Peterson continued, including the incident with the wine glass, which could be interpreted as an act of aggression. Aggression? Sophie laughed nervously. It was a complete accident. An accident that, according to several eyewitnesses, you deliberately orchestrated, Mr. Davis interjected. I can provide a video recording if necessary. Several colleagues nodded in agreement. They had also managed to film it. And the story with the cancelled birthday is of particular significance, Mr. Peterson emphasized. According to the terms of the agreement, refusing to celebrate one's own child's birthday in favor of the plans of a non-family member can be classified as inflicting emotional distress. Emotional distress, my father repeated, his voice betraying a tremor. Just now, in front of 35 people, you told your own daughter that she is no longer family to you, the lawyer reminded him. And this is after 6 months of documented alienation. Based on the evidence presented, Mr. Peterson announced in a tone that brooked no argument, Chloe is entitled to the immediate protection of her assets. This means that her share of the inheritance, which currently amounts to approximately 1/3 of the entire estate, is frozen as of this moment and is protected from any attempts at revision. A third? Sophie screamed. Why a third? Because the inheritance is divided equally among all named beneficiaries, Mr. Peterson explained patiently. Namely, between Chloe, Liam, and a charitable foundation, as specified in the will. Any attempts to alter these shares on discriminatory grounds are now legally void. But we can rewrite the will, my father exclaimed in desperation. It's our money. Of course, Mr. Peterson agreed. But you cannot do so in a way that infringes on the rights of one of your children based on a pattern of behavior that now has full documentary proof. That equitable treatment clause you signed specifically protects against baseless disinheritance as a form of punishment, Mr. Peterson explained. And Sophie's personal discomfort is not sufficient grounds for it. This is coercion. Liam shouted. These are the terms of the contract, the lawyer calmly corrected him. Your parents voluntarily accepted these rules, affixed their signatures, and had them notarized. He pulled out another document. Chloe, as the aggrieved party, you can insist on the appointment of a trustee. This means an independent third party will oversee the distribution of assets to ensure full compliance with the Equal Treatment Clause. So she set this all up, my mother exclaimed. This party, your invitation, it's all one big manipulation. I organized a party to celebrate my promotion at work, I replied quietly. It was your choice to arrive late, ignore the dress code, and allow Sophie to try to embarrass me. I merely allowed for the possibility that you would act according to the same pattern you followed for the past 8 months, and I prepared accordingly. The trust fund alone is valued at $4 million, Mr. Peterson continued. The real estate is another $1 million. Everything is divided equally. Any attempt to transfer property solely to Liam, which I understand has already been discussed, will result in an immediate lawsuit. Sophie's knees buckled, and Liam barely managed to catch her. And to top it off, the lawyer added, any large financial gifts that fall outside the ordinary, such as down payments for housing or expensive cars, made to one heir or their partner must be retroactively compensated to the other heirs, starting from the date this agreement was signed. Retroactively? I asked, this time genuinely surprised. Precisely, Mr. Peterson confirmed with a faint smile. This means your parents are now obligated to reimburse you for an amount equivalent to what they have spent on Liam and Sophie over the last 6 months to restore financial balance. A new wave of whispers went through the room. I need your signature here, Mr. Peterson said, handing me a single-page document. This is a simple confirmation that you are activating your rights under the Equitable Treatment Clause. The decision is effective immediately. I took the pen he offered, feeling the gazes of all 30 guests on me. My hand didn't tremble as I signed my name on the paper. It's official as of this moment, Mr. Peterson announced. The trustees will receive the relevant notifications on Monday morning. You're destroying our family, my mother sobbed. No, I replied, my voice firm and confident. I am simply protecting myself from a family that wrote me off the moment someone newer and more interesting came along. We didn't write you off, my father argued. We just catered to Sophie's every whim. I finished for him. She needed me out of the picture, and you enabled it for 8 months. You chose her comfort over my company. That was your choice. This is mine. Then I turned to face the room. To my colleagues. To those who were actually on my side. I apologize that your evening was interrupted in this manner, I said, addressing the guests. But perhaps it's for the best. Now you've seen with your own eyes who is genuinely happy for my achievements, and who, on the contrary, tries to hinder them. We're leaving, Liam snapped, pulling Sophie towards the exit. This is all so low. And so are you, Chloe. Liam, Mr. Peterson called after him. Be aware that any attempts at pressure or retaliation against Chloe will be considered a direct violation of the agreement. This includes discrediting her on social media. And now I'm asking you to leave, I said, looking at my parents. This is my party, and you are no longer welcome here. Chloe, please. My mother whispered. You demanded an apology from me for something I didn't do, I interrupted her calmly. You threatened to disown me in front of all my colleagues. You made your choice. Now, please, leave. I woke up to 52 missed notifications on my phone. Ignoring them, I went for a walk. The morning air filled my lungs, and I felt the weight of the past few months lifting from my shoulders. When I finally checked my phone, the family group chat was exploding. Liam had sent a long message about my deceit and greed. My mother had sent 18 messages, in which anger turned to guilt-tripping and pleas for reconciliation. My father was brief, you made your choice. And I agreed with him. Around noon, Aunt Carol called. The whole family is in an uproar, she reported. Your mother is complaining to everyone that you brought a lawyer and set them up. They set me up by ignoring me for 6 months, I countered. And Sophie is crying that you attacked her. There are plenty of videos that show otherwise. My aunt was silent for a moment. Is it true they bought her an expensive car? Ask my parents about that. Oh my God, she breathed. Another pause. Good for you, Chloe. It was high time to put an end to this nonsense. As expected, the relatives split into 2 camps. Those who had already noticed my absence from family gatherings supported me. Others, who bought into Sophie's stories about how unfairly she was treated, took their side. A message came from my cousin Megan. Sophie unfollowed everyone and made her page private. I guess the influencer career didn't work out. But the most important reaction came from my maternal grandmother. She lived in a nursing home and was removed from all these scandals. She didn't text, she called me personally. I heard you finally showed some backbone. It was about time. That girl was a fortune hunter from the start. And your parents are just blind. Thanks, Grandma. Come visit me. And bring that lawyer of yours with you. I want to make some changes to my will, too. I want to be sure your parents don't see a cent if they continue to act so foolishly. I laughed. For the first time, genuinely and from the heart, in months. I love you, Grandma. I love you too, sweetie. Hang in there. Monday morning at the office felt surreal. The news, of course, had already spread, but the reaction wasn't what I had feared. Instead of judgment, I was met with respect. Mr. Davis invited me into his office. Saturday night was eventful, he remarked. I'm so sorry I caused so much trouble. Don't even think about apologizing. You handled an impossible situation with dignity and intelligence. You prepared a legal foundation while maintaining complete composure. That's exactly the kind of strategic thinking we value in leadership. I was worried about how it would affect my reputation. It showed everyone that you are a person who knows her worth and won't be belittled. The board of directors was impressed. David said it himself, if she can handle that with such composure, she can handle any difficult client. Sarah knocked and came in. The whole office is buzzing. You're a hero to everyone who's ever dealt with family problems. I just wanted to celebrate a promotion, I replied. And you did, Mr. Davis smiled. My professional world valued what my family never understood. Respect is a foundation, not a bargaining chip. 3 weeks later, as expected, a late-night call came. It was Liam, drunk and dejected. She left me, he mumbled. Sophie, she just left. I listened in silence. As soon as she realized the money wasn't going to happen, she started pulling away. Said I didn't meet her expectations. Can you believe that? Yes, I could easily believe that. She was just using me, a belated realization dawned in his voice. All of us. She's already found a new guy, some tech millionaire, and is posting pictures with his family. As he spoke, I opened her page. There it was, Sophie with a new man and his parents in front of what looked like a villa. The caption, #blessed and #love. Chloe, are you there? I'm here. You were right about her, his voice trembled. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. He continued, struggling for words, Mom and Dad are devastated. She made them believe it was all your fault, and we believed it, because it was easier. Easier than admitting we were played. We wanted so badly for me to succeed at something that we pushed you away. His confession hung in the silence. I need help, he finally said. My parents won't talk to me, they blame me for everything. They changed the locks on the guest house. I have nowhere to go. I closed my eyes for a moment. Liam, I can't be your safety net anymore. Please. Goodbye, Liam. I hung up and blocked his number. In the following months, the legal protection worked flawlessly. I set clear boundaries. Communication with my parents was through email only, and only on business matters. No manipulations or surprise visits. I divided the money they transferred, half went to a scholarship fund for female architecture students, and with the other half, I started a foundation to support people recovering from toxic family estrangements. 4 months later, a real, non-electronic letter arrived from my mother. In it, she admitted they had been blind and had let Sophie deceive them because it was easier than seeing the truth. She wrote that my father, too proud to ask for forgiveness, was silently collecting all the magazine articles featuring my projects. She didn't expect forgiveness, but she wrote that they were willing to wait if I ever wanted to try to reconnect, on my terms. I read the letter and put it away. Maybe someday. But words can't fix broken trust, only actions can. Instead, I focused on my new, chosen family, on Sarah, who became my mentor, on Mr. Davis, who promoted me again, and even on Mr. Peterson, with whom I now had regular coffee to discuss life. You did the hardest thing, he said one day. You chose yourself when others demanded you choose them. Looking back, I realized that the incident at the party was a gift. It brought to light what could have been destroying me for years. The lesson I learned wasn't about winning, but about preparation. It's important to know your rights and to document what happens. And most importantly, to understand that real family isn't defined by blood, but by respect. Some might say I destroyed my family. I believe they destroyed it themselves when they chose a convenient lie over their own daughter. I just refused to be the collateral damage. Today, I hold a high-level position, my projects win awards, and I spend holidays with people who are genuinely happy to have me. I sleep peacefully, knowing that I once stood up for myself. If you know what I mean, then you also know, you are not the problem. And you never were. Thank you for reading this story. If it resonated with you, you're likely familiar with the pain of betrayal by loved ones. Always remember, you deserve respect, especially from those who claim to love you. Subscribe if this speaks to you, and share your story in the comments. Have you ever had to set firm boundaries with your family? Your experience could help others find their strength. If you know someone who needs to hear this, send them this story. Until next time, and value yourself.